We are going to go over the 5 money conversations that every couple should have before they are retiring. So if you are a married couple, this is definitely the show you want to stay tuned for.
Hello, my name's John Convery and welcome to this edition of Retire Yesterday, Live Today. Michael and I are devoted to being here every week with you to raise your financial awareness to help you thrive in retirement, not just survive. And that's our whole mission, and basically week to week we're going to continue to do that. Right, Mike?
Yes, absolutely. We are here to educate you and entertain you because today we got a very special show. We're going to go over the 5 things that every couple should discuss before they plan on retiring, starting with number 1, and that is, what kind of retirement do you both want, and how exactly expensive is that retirement going to be? Because many people don't think about that.
Yeah, that's very, very important. You know, husband may have a view that he wants to retire and go fishing and basically live on the intracoastal to enjoy fishing in his beautiful new boat, a whaler of sorts. His wife may think about going up into the Asheville Mountains or Maggie Lake, enjoying the autumn color changes in the leaves and just enjoying apple cider and buttered vinegar and whatever, all of those kind of things. So you need to have these conversations well in advance, truth and transparency as to what you see for your future. The key in life, and one of the keys of successful people, is they can visually see where they want to be in the future, and they basically set a roadmap towards getting there. Now, of course, there's always going to be detours in the road. That's just the fabric of life. You plan for the unexpected. Matter of fact, have you ever had a day that goes perfectly? I never have. If you know what I'm saying. I'm hoping for at least one. I'm opining for one at some time in my future. So at the end of the day, having open commerce of hearts, conversation, thoughtfully, without trying to push your agenda, relax, slow it down, and have a conversation. Don't try to make any decisions necessarily. Work through it. Respect disagreements. Don't criticize or belittle the other person, right? Value the differences, and then look as to how you can achieve both objectives. Most people don't really give the mental bandwidth to that. You know, it's very rare that there are 2 opposing opposite positions where you can't reconcile the difference. But people that aren't mature or don't reason or don't have enough wisdom and patience to work through it will choose one over the other because they don't understand that it takes work and determination and thought as to how to achieve what you both want. And I believe that's something you can accomplish with the right advocacy of somebody helping you when you may reach an impasse.
Yes, absolutely. You got to figure out what your retirement's going to look like and how expensive it is going to be. Tip number 2, the conversation you obviously are going to have once you figure out the answer to question number 1 is, where is all the income going to come from to help you live out that retirement dream?
Everybody's got a different approach. You know, some of you may have rental properties where you take depreciation allowances. You've worked fervently to take the rent receipts to meet your debt service for principal and interest, property tax, but also to pay down your debt at an accelerated rate. So you can free up some discretionary cash flow in retirement, which is a sound financial principle, not accounting advice, just a sound principle. The second thing is you need to really calibrate and figure out how, at a granular level, to dial into Social Security. Michael knows this very often.
Absolutely.
I speak to groups about there's over 586 different claiming strategies for Social Security and over 2,000 governing rules, even after President Obama's bipartisan budget deal a year or more ago was inaugurated, that eliminated certain options, such as by April 29th of last year, file and suspend was eliminated. But newsflash, Congress giveth and Congress taketh away. There are always opportunities, claiming restricted benefits under your spouse's record, etc., so on and so forth. So don't overlook the importance, the potency of getting Social Security right. And number 3 is, if you have a pension, wonderful. You still have to figure out, do you want to take a life income, an annuity for your life, or are you going to include your spouse for an 80% survivor benefit? As a licensed insurance professional and working with people for 30 years in that risk management area of protecting wealth and providing longevity of income, I understand that actuaries say that to ensure a lifetime income under a pension for 2 persons in retirement, particularly a husband and wife, because women have longer life expectancies, and I always say, listen, most women outlive their husbands by on average 7 years. Now, my wife, Arlene, has a theory on that. We don't want to go down that road. She has her theory. But at the end of the day, that has to be looked at. If the cut to provide the 80% survivor or spouse's pension is too much, maybe you'd be better off looking at alternatives, such as pension maximization, getting a lump sum, putting that money in a life annuity, and buying life insurance with some of the savings and premium to provide tax-free death benefit to your spouse. If you do predecease her, maybe that's more shekels in your pocket to do it that way. And number 3, of course, you factor in things like dividends or interest income. Of course, marketable securities never have any guarantees, but if you can look at all of those categories, and I gave you 4 in this little excerpt from this particular program, and you really look at how they interrelate, I think you'll be, in my opinion, infinitely better off and better prepared to have an abundant retirement.
Yes, absolutely. That could be the show right there, but we're going to continue on to tip number 3, the third piece of the conversation that everyone must have before they choose to retire. And once you figured out 1 and 2, you're going to have to figure out where you are going to live, because a lot of people are thinking maybe to downsize is the best option or opportunity because you have a better quality of life.
There's no doubt. There's a sub-trend. I've seen this migratory pattern of retirees fleeing the Palm Beaches, not because it's not beautiful here with balmy weather and swaying palm trees, but at the end of the day, many people are finding that their money goes further. They can stretch the dollar further in other areas. Thinking of one particular gentleman I had a conversation with the other day. He lives outside of, I think it's outside of Johnston, that particular area of Tennessee, Johnson City, I'm sorry. And basically, he was telling me that his property taxes are only $850 a year. Now, he bought a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house for $179,000 on 1.7 wooded acres up at the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. Loving the lifestyle, a little more cooler climate in the winter, of course, some bitter cold nights, but at the end of the day, not only does he not have to pay over $1,000 for property taxes, but his insurance premium. Do you realize that as an insurance person, amongst other things, I understand that about 50% of our homeowners insurance premiums in Florida are directly correlated to being in the hurricane zone. My personal premium, 50% of what I pay is because of being in a hurricane zone, and then I've got to basically have a claim of up to over 2% of the replacement value of my home before I can even ever collect a nickel. We started going through it, and this gentleman who said to me he'd need $90,000 a year to live comfortably the lifestyle he always dreamed of in the Palm Beaches, he can do it up there in Tennessee for $60,000. No state income tax, very lovely people, salt to the earth. But, of course, there's always trade-offs. In that particular state, Tennessee, guess what? They have a 9.5% sales tax, which is pretty onerous. So maybe you got to buy your goods and services on Amazon or buy them when you're in South Florida if you have a winter retreat here. But at the end of the day, challenge the assumptions about where you want to live, because sometimes the quality of life goes up when the cost to your budget goes down.
Yes, absolutely. That is the first, second, and third piece of the conversation that you need to have when you're planning on retiring, if you are a married or if you're just a couple, because a lot of people now are smart to stay just significant others for tax purposes. So either or, you got to have the conversation on 1, 2, and 3. Number 4, we're just going to breeze through this one, but you might want to consider having the conversation once you figure out where you're going to live and what your expenses are going to be. You must have the conversation if you are planning on working or taking on a new career. So that is a conversation you must have. And we're going to go into number 5, the last piece of the puzzle, or the last conversation you need to have if you are a couple getting ready to retire, and that is, how can you cover unexpected expenses? Because many people don't realize retirement still comes with unexpected expenses.
Absolutely. Timothy Ferriss wrote a great best-selling book called The 4-Hour Work Week, and he talks about basically retiring, having these mini retirements between entrepreneurial ventures and different work assignments in your life. That's something that's very, very thoughtful, because we are living longer as a society of Americans, particularly us baby boomers, who there's 80 million of us from the baby boom generation in the United States of America. 10,000 a day baby boomers are hitting age 65 every day for the next 17 years. Find post your first retirement meaningful work. The other thing is always plan for unexpected expenses, and the biggest culprit there is not losing money in a frothy stock market, although certainly I guess that can happen, but more importantly, plan for unreimbursed medical expenses. Medicare is not a panacea or a cure-all. Under Article 18 it was established so if you're age 65 or older, you have hospitalization and you can pay a premium for major medical, physician's diagnostic testing, etc. But it was never designed to pay for chronic or long-term care costs. Many retiree persons, ask some, your parents or people you know who are 70 or 80, they have line item Schedule A deductions and so often is burdened with major unreimbursed medical expenses for orthodontic work, for vision care, for needing walkers or things of that nature, or apparatuses to help them be more active in their older and most vulnerable years. So Fidelity and Pew Research says that the out-of-pocket cost can be $275,000. Many of you don't have long-term care insurance, I suspect. I only believe that because anecdotally, I always ask that question of anybody that comes in to speak to me in my advisory practice, and most people say, John, I can't afford the insurance. But there are many ways, with or without buying insurance, to protect yourself. Be committed to discovering the best path for you.
Yes, absolutely. This has been the 5 money conversations every couple must have before they retire. It has been a great show.
Absolutely.
I'm going to let John close it out, but you can what you got to do right now. Like it on below.
Like it a lot.
We will be back with you next Monday and Friday. I'm going to let John close it out. Peace out. We will see you again soon.
Excellent. Mike, as always, a lot of fun. We're getting ready to welcome a friend that I haven't seen in a long time. He's bringing a bottle of vintage wine. I'm excited because I love to have a nice red wine before cooking up at the barbecue today a beautiful skirt steak with my wife's variation of a chimichurri, some rosemary potatoes, and just wonderful comrades and great fellowship. But at the end of the day, folks, I always like to leave our program with my version or paraphrase of sorts of the old Irish prayer. And it goes like this. May the wind be gently at your back, my friend. May the sun shine warmly on your face. May the misty low road rise up to meet the high road. And until our paths meet again, my friend, may God anoint you with good health, richly bless you, and have a magnificent day. Goodbye now.